Working with John Wayne, the villain sneaks around the room, and John Wayne comes up behind him, and he says, "Then just shoot him." And he said there was a long pause, and he said, John Wayne said, "You mean I shoot him in the back?"
John Wayne was the ultimate tough guy, the very definition of manhood. But what you may not have known was that off-screen he was among the most generous people in Hollywood.
Clint Eastwood just sent a shockwave through Hollywood with his candid remarks on John Wayne.
Clint Eastwood is truly an icon of cinema. I feel so fortunate to get to spend time with him and watch how he works.
And let's just say it isn't pretty. Fans are buzzing, asking how Eastwood could dare tarnish the larger-than-life legacy of the Duke. In a bold statement, he hinted at irreconcilable differences that many had only whispered about before. Now, everyone is left wondering, has Eastwood gone too far? Or did Wayne's classic cowboy image need a serious reality check? The rise of John Wayne and Hollywood's shifting sands. John Wayne's ascent to stardom was nothing short of meteoric. Born Marion Robert Morrison in 1907, he grew up amid the plain-spoken values of America's heartland. That early environment cultivated a sense of perseverance and self-reliance. As a young man, he ventured into California, then a budding frontier for the motion picture industry. Wayne started modestly, taking on small tasks like working as a prop man or accepting minor background roles just to make ends meet. But everything changed when he teamed up with director John Ford. One breakthrough role, featuring Wayne as a rugged cowboy in Stagecoach, 1939, catapulted him to national fame, planting him firmly in the saddle of Hollywood's favorite Western star. For many viewers, Wayne was more than an actor. He symbolized a brand of tough, direct American heroism at a time when the country craved confidence and straightforward morality. As war loomed on the global stage and Americans tuned their radios for the latest updates, Wayne's bravado struck a deep chord. He wasn't merely reading lines in a film, he was defining an era's ideals. Whether he was represented in black and white or Technicolor, Wayne's presence felt larger than life, just like the wide-open prairies and towering postcard mountains that formed the backdrop of his films. Yet Hollywood didn't stand still. By the end of World War II, and as the tumultuous 1960s and 1970s approached, movie-making evolved. New filmmakers introduced rawer storytelling techniques and more complex characters. The once simple tales of good cowboys and bad outlaws became grittier, reflecting a nation grappling with social change, civil rights, and political upheaval. Studios discovered that audiences no longer wanted to watch the same old white hat versus black hat formula. Instead, there was a growing appetite for flawed heroes and ambiguous moral landscapes. In many ways, John Wayne was riding on a wave that was about to break. The Western genre, which had shaped him, would have to adapt or risk fading into the background. Wayne, famously stubborn, held tight to classical ideals.
The Western is the perfect palette for that American stoicism. It was that romantic challenge of the West, which, as we know, was anything but romantic. It was harsh, it was short-lived, lives were short, disease was rampant, violence was the vernacular of the day.
To him, the Western wasn't just about entertaining audiences. It was a mirror held up to the best parts of American grit, depicting unwavering bravery and duty. Yet while Wayne's image captured the hearts of an earlier generation, a new flock of moviegoers was coming of age. They wanted stories that tackled social conflict, challenged authority, and acknowledged life's gray areas. And that's where Clint Eastwood breezed in, carrying his own brand of unpredictable artistry that would soon shake Hollywood to its core. Clint Eastwood's gritty take on the Western. When Clint Eastwood first stepped into the bright lights of Hollywood, he came from a background that stood in stark contrast to Wayne's. Born in 1930, he experienced the tail end of the Great Depression, moving with his family around California in hope of finding steady work. That sense of uncertainty left a deep imprint on Eastwood, manifesting in the solitary, sometimes restless energy he brought to his roles. His earliest break was on television, starring in Rawhide as Rowdy Yates. But let's face it, Rawhide alone wouldn't seal Eastwood's destiny as a screen icon. Real stardom wouldn't come until he crossed the Atlantic to collaborate with director Sergio Leone on the so-called Dollars trilogy. Leone's approach to the Western turned the genre upside down, and Eastwood was perfectly cast to deliver that shock. His character, a laconic, morally ambiguous gunslinger, wasn't the knight in shining armor American audiences were used to seeing. Instead, he was opportunistic, wry, and often brutal. In A Fistful of Dollars, For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Eastwood personified raw survival instincts. If John Wayne's heroes were about planting the flag of justice and neighborly duty, Eastwood's gunslingers reflected a harsh, dog-eat-dog reality. This shift was more than stylistic. It was philosophical. The Western of Wayne's day offered a reassuring worldview. Face your problems head-on with a strong moral code, and in the end, justice will be served. Eastwood's style taught a different lesson. The frontier was gritty, messy, and full of moral dilemmas. You did what you had to do to get by, even if it meant playing by your own rules. That cynicism felt strangely honest to Americans mired in the complexities of the Cold War and increasingly skeptical of easy answers. Eastwood's career only gained momentum with time. His eventual pivot to directing gave him the freedom to shape narratives that probed deeper into human nature. Movies like Unforgiven challenged the Western's older archetypes outright, questioning whether gun-wielding heroes were truly heroes or just agents of endless violence.
He has the best Western movie of all time.
What's that?
Unforgiven.
Unforgiven.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. I did see
Man,
that.
I'm a
Best.
fan of Tombstone with Val Kilmer, too. I
That
love
one
that
scene.
movie.
That one scene made that whole movie.
Though Eastwood and Wayne both loved the mythic frontier, their visions for it couldn't have been more distant. Wayne's West was fueled by faith in a distinctly American moral clarity. Eastwood's West was an unforgiving desert of dilemmas, where a single shot could change your fate in ways you'd regret for years. Hollywood recognized this difference too, giving Eastwood a unique place. He inherited the Western from Wayne, but molded it into something fresh, darker, and more self-aware. The clashing values, letter, scripts, and unspoken rivalries. Even while their fans imagined countless collaborations, the truth is, John Wayne and Clint Eastwood never really saw eye to eye. The difference wasn't simply a matter of generational gap. It stemmed from their divergent life philosophies. A high-profile spark of conflict emerged in the 1970s when Eastwood approached Wayne with a script titled The Hostel. This proposed Western was anything but safe and traditional. In Eastwood's vision, moral murkiness mattered more than hero worship. Such a premise didn't sit well with Wayne. According to Hollywood lore, Wayne wrote Eastwood a pointed letter criticizing the script for disrespecting the Western genre. Wayne believed the genre symbolized an unshakable set of values: courage, patriotism, fairness, and the unyielding triumph of good over evil. He saw Eastwood's darker spin as a slap in the face to everything he'd worked for, both on screen and off. Having devoted most of his life to portraying the Western's moral center, Wayne took it personally. To him, these modern, gritty reimaginings undermined the heroic archetypes that had guided the public through challenging times, from the Great Depression to World War II. From Eastwood's perspective, Wayne's stance was stuck in the past. He wanted stories that resonated with an audience living through the Vietnam War and social upheaval, an audience that no longer trusted they'd always be the good guys. Eastwood found Wayne's brand of unwavering patriotism and black-and-white morality distant and possibly naive. Though Eastwood rarely hurled personal insults at Wayne, he refused to compromise on his creative instincts, believing filmgoers deserved characters who felt genuinely conflicted, not just shining knights on horseback. That letter exchange, never publicly revealed in full, became a flashpoint in Hollywood lore. It's said to have killed off any realistic chance these two titans would ever share the screen. Rumors swirled, of course. Some described the conflict as a battle of egos, two big stars refusing to yield. Others saw it as a clash of ideologies, one man's unwavering faith in old-school heroics versus another's drive to showcase humankind's darker corners. Either way, the tension morphed into something personal. Newspaper columns teased readers with lines like, "Who needs a bigger gun, the Duke or Dirty Harry?" The hype only fed public fascination about why Wayne and Eastwood never joined forces for an epic Western. Ironically, That feud became legendary in its own right, giving fans a drama that played out behind the scenes instead of on the silver screen. Personal lives and the shadows they cast. Behind the cowboy hats, spurs, and shotgun stares, John Wayne and Clint Eastwood were also flesh and blood individuals navigating messy personal worlds. For Wayne, life looked a bit like a public stage. He married 3 times, fathered 7 children, and stayed loyal to a circle of treasured friends and collaborators.
Who John Wayne actually was, not who people thought he was in their heads from observing him or listening to him speak or hearing him talk to the Republican National Convention, but who he actually was on a day-to-day basis to his family, to his friends, to his co-workers, to the people he met on the street.
Wayne prided himself on a sense of moral certainty, which extended beyond his film roles and into his personal and political statements. He endorsed conservative policies, supported the Vietnam War, and stood vehemently against communism. In interviews, Wayne often saw little room for compromise. If he believed something was right, that was the only stance that mattered. Critics might label that attitude as stubborn or narrow, but Wayne viewed it as principled. After all, he was a product of early 20th century America, shaped by the struggles of the Great Depression and the triumphs of World War II. The unwavering paternal presence fans saw on screen was, for the most part, who Wayne tried to be in real life. He wanted to protect and provide for his family. He strove to maintain a sense of order and championed virtues like honor and loyalty. His children, now grown, talk about him as a strict but caring father who believed he was walking the righteous path. Eastwood, by comparison, wore his personal life more quietly. Known for his reticence in interviews, Eastwood was far less public about his relationships and beliefs. He had multiple romantic involvements and several children with different partners, a reality that sometimes clashed with his calm, collected on-screen persona. Yet many who worked with Eastwood describe him as gracious, supportive, and completely dedicated to the filmmaking craft. On set, he ran a tight ship, efficient, focused, and no nonsense, a style that actually garnered respect and loyalty from cast and crew. Politically, Eastwood identified loosely as a libertarian, preferring minimal government interference. That viewpoint meshed with his film characters' independent streaks. Still, he didn't go out of his way to pick political fights. Instead, he let his films unravel the messy complexities behind issues like war, violence, and redemption. In his personal life, Eastwood rarely preached about how others should live. Instead, he stressed finding one's path, even if it led to an unconventional destination. This unstructured family dynamic and more flexible moral outlook set him worlds apart from Wayne. While Wayne's life was famously framed by old-school American ideals, Eastwood's was defined by personal freedom and adaptability, an echo of the shifting times that shaped him.
Eastwood worked a variety of jobs growing up, but by 20 years old, he entered the Army.
Legacy, cultural shifts, and modern reassessments. To understand the magnitude of Clint Eastwood's recent remarks on John Wayne, it helps to see them in the broader context of ever-changing American culture. Wayne once reigned supreme in a Hollywood that largely reaffirmed national pride and a cohesive moral framework. His brand of bullish confidence and patriotic zeal was an antidote for a country emerging from the horrors of war, looking for heroes instead of cynics. A Wayne character left no doubt that he'd fight for the American way, and hordes of admirers saw him as the personification of that ideal, both on and off the movie screen. But times changed. The baby boomer generation, shaped by the Vietnam War and social revolutions, questioned the idea of absolute heroes and unwavering right versus wrong narratives. Society began peeling back layers of moral simplicity, wanting instead to explore nuance. Racial injustice, political lies, and economic disparities came to light, complicating the notion of a purely heroic nation. In that climate, Eastwood's approach, showing flawed men grappling with hidden demons, felt refreshing. Moviegoers found his morally gray gunslingers and anti-heroes more relatable. Gone were the days when you could simply cheer for the man in a white hat. Instead, you had to question what was lurking in his mind. Hollywood also shifted in terms of film technique and storytelling. Directors like Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, and Eastwood himself embraced slow, simmering tension, psychological layering, and ambiguous endings. Heroes didn't always win. Sometimes they limped off into the sunset, haunted by regrets. Or they achieved success but paid a terrible cost. This creative environment further eroded Wayne's brand of unstoppable hero. While no one doubted Wayne's significance, younger cinephiles started to see his films as relics of a naiver era. When Eastwood broke his silence on John Wayne, implying that Wayne's outlook was too simplistic for the world they faced, it reopened old wounds. Some fans interpreted it as an unnecessary cheap shot at a legend who wasn't alive to defend himself. Others thought Eastwood was simply giving voice to an ongoing cultural reevaluation, the same reconsideration that has led people to critique previously unexamined aspects of Wayne's personal beliefs, including remarks he made about race and politics. After all, no icon remains immune from modern scrutiny, the everlasting impact, and the continued debate. The story doesn't end with Wayne's death in 1979.
President Carter issued a statement today about the death of John Wayne. Mr. Carter said, in an age of few heroes, he was the genuine article.
Or with Eastwood's occasional barbed remarks decades later. If anything, it's still unfolding. Fan communities and film scholars continue to debate. Whose vision of the West holds truer to the American experience? Traditionalists see Wayne as not just a movie star, but a heroic paradigm whose certainty and authenticity offered comfort during eras filled with real global threats. They argue that Wayne's unwavering moral stance provided cinematic role models that taught honor, resilience, and patriotism. On the other side, Eastwood's admirers champion the virtues of complexity. They assert that Eastwood did what all great artists do. He adapted the art to reflect the genuine anxieties and moral puzzles of his generation. By showing heroes who wrestle with violence or question their own motives, Eastwood opened up the Western to a new depth of psychological realism. Viewers who themselves felt uncertain about war, peace, or social change found solace in seeing a mythic frontier that reflected their own inner conflicts. Eastwood's interpretation turned the Western into a vehicle for introspection, not just spectacle. Meanwhile, both men cast long shadows over modern cinema. Virtually any Western, from the big-budget remakes to the gritty indies, must grapple with the legacies of Wayne and Eastwood. Even beyond the confines of the genre, their influence can be felt in action films, psychological thrillers, and more. Filmmakers who admire Wayne's larger-than-life heroics discreetly incorporate that brand of unwavering moral center into their protagonists. Those leaning toward Eastwood's vision insert ethical dilemmas and cobwebbed motivations, letting audiences decide who's truly virtuous. Is it a betrayal for Eastwood to take potshots at Wayne after all these years? Or does it reflect an overdue honesty about the complexities of Wayne's worldview? Some wonder if Eastwood's statement is less about Wayne personally and more about questioning the entire cultural memory around the Western hero. After all, Wayne is gone, but the myths he helped create remain deeply embedded in the national psyche. In the end, whether you side with Wayne's classic moral fortitude or Eastwood's penchant for dark introspection, one thing remains clear. They both remain crucial to the cinematic tapestry, exemplifying how Hollywood can both shape and mirror a country's evolving identity. Decades later, fans continue to watch their films, rehash their debates, and wrestle with the ongoing question, which cowboy truly rides tall in the saddle of American myth?
Kate, the Princess of Wales, is undergoing treatment for cancer, and while we don't know what type of cancer, we do know that anyone diagnosed, they need support.
Known for being an Anglican faithful, she has decided to lean on her faith during this challenging time. But an unexpected meeting between Kate and Pope Francis in a historic church has not only shocked people, but has also sparked many discussions worldwide. What really happened in the meeting between the Pope and Kate Middleton? Join us as we reveal what Pope Francis did with Kate Middleton that shocked everyone. Kate Middleton is diagnosed with cancer. Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, has always been admired for her elegance, composure, and her dedication to royal duties. But as last year drew to a close, fans and royal watchers noticed something unusual. Kate, who is typically a well-known figure at public events, was no longer seen as frequently as before in the spotlight. and after a while she wasn't even seen in the public eye anymore. It was as if she was missing in action. Her absence brought about concern and wild speculations among the public and the media. Many wondered why someone so active and committed to her role would suddenly become so private. As the months passed, whispers grew louder, and people couldn't help but try to understand what exactly was going wrong. There were rumors of health issues, family struggles, and even strained relations within the royal family, but no official statement was made, leaving people to speculate, make guesses, spread rumors, and worry. But what exactly was going on? Where was Kate Middleton? Keep watching to find out. Some people believed that Kate was simply taking time off for personal reasons, but others feared that something more serious was happening. The entire mystery surrounding her absence casted a shadow over the usually transparent royal household. Rumors continued to spread, and it reached its peak when the royal family released its official Christmas portrait of last year, and netizens were able to point out that Kate was photoshopped into the picture.
Kate Middleton and Prince William's annual Christmas card appears to suffer a Photoshop fail. The Prince and Princess of Wales's Christmas portrait with their 3 children appears to have suffered a Photoshop fail.
To stop the raging rumors, in March of this year, Kate finally broke her silence and shared the truth with the world. In a heartfelt statement, she revealed that she had been battling cancer. Her diagnosis had come as a shock, not only to her but also to her family and close friends. She explained that she and her doctors found out about the cancer after a planned abdominal surgery that she underwent. She was then asked to undergo chemotherapy to prevent the cancer from recurring. She also talked about the need to focus on her health and undergo treatment, which was why she had chosen to step away from her public duties. Her openness was both heartbreaking and inspiring, as it gave people a glimpse into the personal challenges faced by someone who is often seen as a symbol of strength. Kate described the initial fear and uncertainty she felt when she received her diagnosis. Like anyone facing such news, she was overwhelmed, but she also spoke about the incredible support she received from her family, including her husband, Prince William, and her children. She also shared how her faith helped her navigate this difficult time. Kate's story deeply touched the hearts of many people who have faced or are facing similar battles. Her willingness to open up about her experience brought comfort to those who felt they were not alone. Throughout her treatment, Kate remained determined to stay positive. Although she could not attend public events, she stayed involved in her charitable work behind the scenes. She worked closely with organizations supporting cancer research and patient care, using her platform to raise awareness about the importance of early detection and treatment.
Duchess Kate Middleton channels her inner Princess Diana with a visit to sick children in the hospital. Here she is meeting 9-year-old Ava.
Her dedication to making a difference, even while dealing with her own health challenges, inspired countless individuals around the world. As news of her battle spread, messages of love and support poured in from across the globe. People admired her courage and strength, and her story became a symbol of hope for others. Kate's journey also highlighted the importance of breaking the stigma around discussing serious illnesses. Her openness encouraged more people to share their own experiences and seek help when needed. Even with the issues she faced, Kate's strength shone through. Her family remained her greatest source of strength, with Prince William often seen speaking about the importance of supporting loved ones during tough times. The royal household also rallied around her, ensuring that she had the privacy and care she needed to focus on her recovery. Despite being an Anglican faithful, Kate had an unexpected encounter with Pope Francis, the leader of the Catholic Church. What exactly went down in the meeting between the Pope and Kate Middleton? Stay tuned to find out. Pope Francis meets with Kate Middleton. Kate Middleton had some underlying abdomen issues which were meant to be operated upon by a group of specialist doctors who have in the past operated on Pope Francis. During the surgery, the doctors discovered something unexpected. They found early-stage cancer. The diagnosis was a shock, turning what was supposed to be a routine medical checkup into the beginning of a much more challenging journey. Kate immediately began treatment with the team of specialists in London. Her days became filled with medical appointments and consultations, leaving little time for anything else. The treatments were exhausting, and the emotional toll weighed heavily on her.
The image was released with a dramatic update on her medical condition. I am making good progress, but as anyone going through chemotherapy will know, there are good days and bad days.
One evening, as she sat alone in her room thinking of her next steps, she received an unexpected message. Pope Francis, who had learned of her condition, had invited her to meet him. The invitation surprised Kate, but she felt drawn to the opportunity for spiritual comfort. On the day of the meeting, the sun shone brightly over the city, offering a sense of warmth and peace, which was in contrast with the heaviness in her heart. Kate arrived at a small, historic church where she was meant to meet with the Pope. She wore a simple navy blue dress and a cream scarf. Her face, though tired from treatment, carried an expression of quiet strength. Inside the church, the air was cool and calm. The high ceilings and stained glass cast colorful patterns on the stone floor. Kate found a seat near the back, folding her hands and bowing her head in silent prayer. She was deep in thought when she heard soft footsteps approaching. She looked up to see Pope Francis, his simple white robe catching the light. The Pope greeted her warmly, his kind smile immediately putting her at ease. He invited her to walk with him, leading her to the altar where they lit a candle together. As the flame flickered, Kate whispered a prayer, her voice trembling with emotion. The Pope placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, and she felt a small wave of calm wash over her. After a few moments of silence, he led her to a private room at the back of the church. The space was small but welcoming, with a modest desk and shelves filled with old books. They sat across from each other, and the Pope encouraged Kate to share her thoughts. At first, her words were slow and seemingly calculated, but soon she got more comfortable. She spoke about the fear and uncertainty she felt after her diagnosis. She admitted to struggling with the idea of being vulnerable, of letting the world see her in a weakened state. Her role as a public figure had always been one of strength and grace, and she felt she was failing in some way by being unwell. The Pope listened patiently, nodding as she spoke. He reminded her that strength comes not from always being perfect, but from facing challenges with courage. His words touched her deeply, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to cry openly. After some time, the Pope suggested they step outside. He led her through a small wooden door at the side of the church, revealing a hidden garden. The garden was quiet and serene, with a fountain in the center and flowers blooming in neat rows. They walked slowly along the cobblestone path, the sound of trickling water filling the air. Kate stopped near the fountain, watching the sunlight dance on the rippling surface. The Pope pointed out how water, though soft and gentle, could shape even the hardest stone over time. His words struck a chord with her, and she stood there silently, enjoying the moment. The Pope handed her a small jar of holy water, dipping his fingers into it and anointing her forehead. The cool touch brought a sense of relief, and she closed her eyes, letting the peaceful atmosphere soothe her spirit. They returned to the church, where the Pope led her to a side chapel rarely opened to visitors. Inside was a beautiful painting of Mary holding the infant Jesus. Candles flickered softly, casting a warm glow over the room. Kate felt an overwhelming sense of calm as she knelt before the image, her hands clasped tightly in prayer. Before she left, the Pope gave her a small wooden rosary. Its beads, worn smooth from years of use, felt solid in her hands. He encouraged her to carry it as a reminder of hope and faith during her journey. As Kate left the church, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. The meeting with Pope Francis had given her a sense of clarity and renewed strength. While her battle was far from over, she felt more prepared to face the road ahead, carrying with her the memory of the quiet garden, the gentle water, and the comforting presence of the Pope. After the unplanned meeting with the Pope, Kate was strengthened to continue her battle. Now Kate is faring better and is back to the spotlight. But how is she really faring now? Let's find out. How is Kate Middleton faring now? Kate Middleton has returned to royal duties after successfully undergoing cancer treatment earlier this year.
Pope Francis welcomed President Obama to the Vatican. He has another high-profile visitor, Britain's Queen Elizabeth. Mark Phillips is in Vatican City, where the two leaders met a short time ago.
I'd like to present to you the Secretary of State, Cardinal Keith. Your Majesty,
The royal family of Britain has always shown respect for global leaders who inspire change, and Pope Francis is no exception, and demonstrating that the illness could not be spread through casual contact.